My name's Vicky Squire and I work for the National Trust, and this is my project. My project is called the Save the Magnificent Meadows project, which is a 3-year UK-wide project funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund. I look after the Ceredigion sites, working to protect and conserve hay meadows and species-rich grasslands. This is just one of 9 sites in Ceredigion that I look after. We're just north of Aberporth, right on the edge of the Wales coast path, and over there's Penbryn Beach. To manage a field as a hay meadow, it has to be cut mid to end of July, which lets all the flowers grow and then seed, and then it's grazed with cattle or sheep through the winter then, just to keep the grasses under control. One of the first jobs we had to do here was to put up new fences so we can keep the stock out at the right times and put the stock back in again at the right times. This is my Magnificent Meadows van, which has been painted with lovely orchids and bumblebees, and I use it very often to transport volunteers out to sites to help me with all the work. Today we're training up a group of volunteers to help us with our surveys. They're looking at all the species that are found in this area, and then we'll be monitoring the field to see how many species that are good indicators of a healthy hay meadow, and looking at how many bad species there are here as well.
I'm Helen, I'm the Wildlife and Countryside Advisor for the National Trust in Wales, and I'm here today on this beautiful piece of coastland to help volunteers and to train them how to identify the species in this fantastic grassland we're sat in. So the first step is to go through what we've got here and what the species all mean. So we've got some really interesting species in this grassland. It's really rich. There's about 60 different plants and lots of different grasses and herbs. And there's some really positive, more unusual plants like the burstlet trefoil, devil's bit scabious, and other more common species like the black knapweed and the cat's ear, which indicate to us that this grassland is in pretty good condition. So this is Meadow vetchling. The black knapweed gives this grassland type its National Vegetation Classification name, so it's important to know we've got black knapweed here. And the devil's bit scabious, a really important plant ecologically, quite uncommon. The food plant marsh fritillary butterfly, but very similar looking. But the main difference is with the black knapweed, they've both got this kind of purple edge to the leaf, but the black knapweed you might be able to see shimmering in the sunlight. It's got very shimmery hairs. That's because the hairs are all segmented and they glisten in the sun, whereas the hairs on the devil's bit scabious aren't quite so shimmery. And the other thing is, if you turn the leaves over, the devil's bit scabious, very, very veined on the back, still quite hairy, but lots of little veins, whereas on the back of the black knapweed, the veins are much more pronounced, not nearly as many. So that's the way you tell the two species. And the volunteers this morning have done a grand job because they've already learnt the difference between those two species. So that's really good. On a UK and a Wales-wide basis, this is now a really rare habitat, and it's estimated that at least 95% of these grasslands have been lost since the end of the Second World War. It's not only important for plants, and including some really rare plants that now only occur in very few sites of this grassland type, but it's also really important for other wildlife. It's a great nectar source for butterflies, bees and all sorts of other invertebrates, and also this habitat's really important for birds. So this tiny little rich site is under threat because you've got this scrub, this blackthorn and bramble scrub, which without intervention, without the right grazing, would quickly take over the site. Although the scrub itself is of value, it's the grassland that's much rarer. So what we're trying to do here is knock back the blackthorn and bramble and allow the grassland above to flourish. The Magnificent Meadows project is a UK-wide project with lots of different partners, but led by Plantlife. And in Wales, the National Trust are delivering the project focused on Ceredigion.
My name's Gordon Price, I'm a volunteer for the National Trust. I found it really fascinating to come out here and help identify some of these species, and by the end of the day I think I should have a good idea of how to spot some of these beautiful wildflowers. This quadrat's very rich in grasses, not so much in wildflowers. We've got a white clover coming through here.
This particular part of the field is it's kind of full of grasses. There's not many wildflowers here, but hopefully sort of in years to come, if we do our work properly, this will be full of different colours and full of the flowers that we'd like to see in the hay meadow.
So we've got red clover and cat's ear as a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly better.
And we've got quite a lot of coarse grasses. We've got a lot of Yorkshire fog again, haven't we? And cocksfoot. So as you can see, this field is nowhere near as rich as the other bank that we were on earlier. It's much more grass dominated. It's got some of the common herbs in it, like the white clover and lots of dandelion. But come back here in a few years' time and hopefully this is going to be really rich. It's going to be just as beautiful as the grassland over the other side of the fence.